Mega Mike, the movie man, back here with an amazing post-game show for you all for Thor, Love, and Thunder. So today we got 10 discussion questions to go through with you all today, but I am not alone here. I am joined by two awesome co-hosts. So Last American Girl, what would you like to say to the public out there?
If you're looking for a fun movie to have a good time, to relax, sit back, get your popcorn going, go see Thor.
Oh, I see. I'm gonna have a difference of opinion there, but
Ah!
let's go to
Oh,
Benny. Benny, anything you want to say to the audience there before I start
hi.
tearing this movie apart?
Hi, I'm Benny. Thanks for having me back. I'm ready for this thing. Let's do it. Positivity, right?
All right, perfect. So yeah, I'm hoping you two can be the positive ones here. Bring those out because I'm quite disappointed with this movie, but we will get into it. So let's start with the first question here. We have, how did this movie compare to the other first three Thor movies? So for me, this, it's better than Thor: The Dark World. I'll start with a little bit of a positive. It's better than a Thor: The Dark World, so I'm happy with that. But nowhere close to Thor Ragnarok, in my opinion. Not even in the same level. And then I actually prefer Thor 1 a lot more than this movie too. But I like Thor 1 more than most people. So I have that one pretty high up on my list. But this movie to me just it missed the mark here, but I want everybody else to chime in. Last American Girl, uh how did this movie compare for you?
Um, as you said, right between the well, better than Dark World, better than Dark World. It feels like a completely different movie than say Thor, the first Thor. It's just not like the elements of it were completely different. So it feels weird ranking those two. As far as comedic goes, I like this one better. But as far as plot and story, I like the first Thor better. So it'd be tied between those two. And obviously, you can't go wrong with Ragnarok. So that's still top.
All right, Benny, how you feeling about this one?
Okay, so I agree that it is better than Thor 2, but not as good as Ragnarok. But I'd say it's on par with number one because I agree with Last American Girl. It's more like apples and oranges comparing the two. Comedic wise, this one had more. Story wise, this one was better. This one had more Loki. This one had no Loki. So it'd kind of be on par with number one, but definitely better than two, and definitely not as good as Ragnarok.
Mm. So it looks like we're kind of all around the same range there. So that's good. We're kind of lining up right there. But I'm glad you all mentioned kind of the difference in tone there because, yeah, when you look at
Mhm.
all of the Thor movies now, they're all way different than each other. It's like they couldn't even get two in a row to be the same. It's like, oh my goodness. Like the first one is like this Shakespearean brother rivalry tale. Dark World, just
Mhm.
yeah, it's not very good at all. I don't know what happened with that, with the tubular elves and all that. And then Ragnarok, I think, balanced the drama and the comedy perfect, but it was still a really dark story, but they had some situational humor in there, so I think it worked good. To me, this one was a complete like joke fest. Like it was comedy, like joke every 5 seconds. Like, let's plug another joke in here. Let's set up another joke. It was just like, that's why I'm wearing my ha 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 Joker hat, because I'm just like, there are so many jokes in this fourth movie. To me, it felt more like a parody of itself. It was more like an SNL sketch than like a true like serious Thor movie. I felt that they took the humor way too much. Like I was expecting humor, but they went to a whole nother level. But it just makes it a completely different tone than the rest of them. So yeah, the tones are all over the place with these movies. So I'm sure we'll talk more on these points as we get into the next questions here. But we're going to keep the positivity going a little bit. Let's get the question two now. What were some of our favorite characters and scenes from this Thor movie? All right. So, okay, I got to think hard about this one, but I will go with Gore the God Butcherer. I did like that performance. I think Christian Bale brought
Mhm.
it, I thought he was, very dramatic and very tenseful in his scenes. He had some scenes he was like terrifying. So I thought that worked really well. But the problem is, I felt like he should have been in a different movie. I felt like this villain did not fit this movie's storyline. So that was a disconnect for me. But Christian Bale, he still brought it. So to me, by far, Gore the God Butcher, I really liked. And who now it's tough to think. Is there anything else I liked in here with these characters? I will say Jane, right? The mighty Thor here. I was thinking, is she going to be good in this movie? Would it be better without here? I will say the movie is better with her in it. I will say that. If she was out of
100%.
it, I felt like
Yep.
this movie would have been even to a more
Weird.
drastic comedic level. So she brought more seriousness into the movie, which I appreciated. But those were the two characters that stuck out for me. Last American Girl, what were some characters that stood out to you?
Of course, I'm going to go with Jane here, and just the way that she was portrayed. Natalie Portman did an excellent job in the trying not to spoil here. The two
It's okay.
sides
You can spoil
of
away. This is
we can
spoiler
spoil.
warning
Spoil,
for
let's do
everybody.
it.
This is a
Spoiler warning.
post-game show. You all know the deal. It's a post-game show. So if we get some spoilers in there, yeah, we're assuming you've seen the show because you're joining us for the post-game. So if you need a
Okay.
spoil, go for it.
In that case, her sick her sick self, how she was able to transition between the mighty Thor, who was big and buff and ready to put on the fight, but internally she's struggling with her sickness. And just the way that she was able to portray those two aspects of Jane so well, so believable, that like you see the magic in it. I thought that was an excellent performance on her behalf. And then my other favorite character was King Valkyrie. Did an excellent job. And um her feelings, how she portrayed them, and the transition of going from someone from a figure who has no conflict to someone who's suffering with internal ones, and in return helps others with it. I thought it was just an excellent portrayal of her character, and who the actor themselves wanted to be portrayed.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up King Valkyrie. I thought she was actually a really good character too. I wish she was in the movie more. Actually, I wish we got more of her. But yeah, she
Yep.
was great. And yeah, even though I did like having Jane in this movie, okay, with the Mjolnir, the hammer thing, like how that was put back together. Oh my goodness, what kind of explanation was that? Like, I'm still not fully even understanding it. Like, what, like, how did that hammer get put back together? It was just like love or something. Like, I still don't even fully get it. That was like so random. Like, I thought we were gonna get a way better explanation, but no, it was just like, oh, magic, love, just the hammer. Thor whispered something to the hammer late at night, like, hey, make sure you protect her. But how does that explain the hammer going back together just magically? Like, couldn't have Thor done that himself? I don't. That part I felt was a very loose explanation for how that hammer got back together. So I will have to say that. Benny, are we missing any characters or any scenes or anything that stood out for you as some positives here?
The scene I really liked was when they were all fighting Gore on that little Shadow Realm planet, and it was all like black and white. I thought that was a different take on the Thor movies. And movies in general, usually they don't transition like that. It's either all black and white or all color, not half and half. And when Gore was having that conversation with Jane Foster, I felt like their characters mirrored each other, because they both were struggling with something really bad, but once they gained their weapon, it kind of gave them strength. But he went in a more evil way with it. She went in a more heroic way with it. So it's still kind of helping them gain power, but not in the ways that you would want. So I like how that kind of mirrored themselves. Another character I really liked was Korg. every time he just said bro, hey bro, to Thor, it always cracked me up. I don't know, it's such a simple thing, but it was just great. And then King Valkyrie, I agreed she needed a little bit more in the movie. But other than that, some of the characters were a hit, other than were kind of a miss. So yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up some more characters for us to discuss. Now, I'm gonna have to disagree here for my own, just my own opinion here with Korg, because Korg was like my favorite character before. I thought he was so good in Thor Ragnarok, but I felt like they made him way too much of a joke character in this one. And then what he had a great moment. I'm like, oh my goodness, right? Once again, spoiler warning, everyone. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh, did Korg just die? And then that made me like the character more because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a heart-wrenching moment. We're gonna get very emotional here. It's Korg. But then they turned it into another joke again, and the Marvel fake
Yeah.
death universe again. That just irritated me, and that just like, oh my gosh, that got me off the Korg train. I was all for Korg, but then it was just like, oh yeah, he didn't really die, it's just the face of Korg now. I'm like, what's going on? What is this? I'm like, so that lessened his like big moment for me, because I'm like, okay, that could have been a really powerful moment. And then to me, he just was more just for jokes the whole time. I felt like he didn't really have any other big like heroic moments or anything like that. I just felt like it was kind of sidelined a little bit to me, at least. But I'm glad you did mention the Gore the God Butcher scenes. I did like the stylized, like going black and white with the fighting. I thought that was really cool, and I wanted more of that. That's why I was saying
Yep.
earlier that I'm like, oh, I kind of feel like Gore the God Butcher is out of place in this movie. Like, I feel like we should have got more of his character. Yeah, I just felt a little bit out of place. But for what he had, for the small moments he had, I do think I did enjoy them for the most part. I wanted more of it. But yeah, I think that covers all our favorite characters. Any other favorite scenes anybody can think of right now that stood out to them?
I just really liked like you just said, the Shadow Realm scenes. I loved how they contrasted, like even within those scenes where Jane and Thor are there, like how their capes are still red. I thought that was
Yeah.
just a really nice visual touch to it.
Yeah, that reminded me of what, like Sin City, I think did that, right?
Sin City, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
I like that. That was pretty cool. Yeah, that was very like comic booky, like, or graphic novel-y, right? With just the
Mhm.
red hint there. Yeah, I thought that looked
hmm
really, really cool. And I'm trying to think if there was any other scenes in the movie that really stood out to me that I enjoyed. And I'm like, well, I kind of like the beginning intro at first, like when Gore is like, all perishing and his daughter passes away, and it's very like heart-wrenching moment. I like that initial setup, but then it turns for me when it gets very jokey when he meets the god and the god's just laughing about it. That's where it turned for me. But I like the initial setup and the initial introduction of Gore. I did like that for me
I didn't like
personally.
how it started. It
No?
just started right in. I thought it was part of the movie. I thought it was part of the trailer still, and I was like, dang, like these
That's what
trailers
my
have been
fiance
on
said. She
forever.
said the same thing.
Yep.
She's like, "Is this another trailer?"
Yeah, I can see how people can get confused by that. It kind of just jumped right into it, and you're like, huh, okay, interesting.
Yeah, which is different than what other Thor movies have done, right? So this is like, once again, another
Yep.
tonally like different thing. Like,
Different
so
thing.
many changes here just within the movie itself. The tone will shift quite often. So
Mhm.
yeah. But yeah, I can't think of any other scenes that really stick out to me in terms of favorite. I will get to some bad scenes later, though, definitely. But let's get into question 3 here. How did this movie compare to other Chris Hemsworth and Taika Waititi movies? So to me, Taika Waititi was like my go-to person. I was on the Taika Waititi train. I'm like, oh, everything Taika Waititi touches is just perfect. It's amazing. I'm off that train now. I'm off that train now. So when I hear a Taika Waititi movie is being developed, like I know he's planning to work on a Star Wars movie next and all of that, I'm not going to be automatically excited. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I'll check it out, but now I gotta check it out first and really judge it. Whereas before, I'm like, oh, Taika Waititi movie, guaranteed to at least be good to great. This, I don't know what happened with Taika Waititi, how involved he was with this. I do hear that there's a longer cut of this movie, like there's a 4-hour Taika Waititi cut. I don't know how that would play differently, but I just felt like, once again, all the tones all over the place, and I felt like we got too much Taika Waititi-ness, because I know Taika Waititi, he's known for that comedy, right? Injecting that comedy. Like we got comedy in Thor Ragnarok, we got comedy in Jojo Rabbit. Even though there were some serious, dramatic, powerful moments, he was still able to inject some comedy. But I felt like he felt like, oh, people just love the comedy in my movies. Let's throw every joke in there we can, not only one time. Let's do it 5 times. You guys like screaming goats. We're going to give it to you more. 5 times screaming goats. I'm like, first time I chuckled. The 5th time, I'm like, seriously, I'm irritated with these screaming goats. The screaming goat is going in the thumbnail for this post-game show, by the way. But it was just like too much of it. It's like, what happened? It's just too many jokes and there are too many jokes. So yeah, I'm off the Taika Waititi train right now. In terms of Chris Hemsworth's performance, because we haven't talked too much about Thor, and it's a Thor movie, right? So I'll talk about Thor. I was not excited by this performance at all. It wasn't terrible or anything like that. To me, it just wasn't anything different or outstanding. And I felt like he just didn't bring as much emotion to this performance or like deep character arc. Because you look back at all the other Thor movies, even maybe not even as good of a Thor movie like Dark World, I felt like he still had more like emotional, more painful moments. Like even in the Avenger movies, like Infinity War, Endgame, like you're sympathizing with Thor, like you're feeling like, oh, you lost all these people, but you still want to defeat Thanos. Like you feel that connection. And here, to me, it felt like it wasn't Thor. It was somebody else like trying to play Thor, but like in an SNL sketch. Like it was just like parody Thor, like Thor, happy, funny all the time Thor. Not too many serious moments with Thor this time for me anyway. So I'm like, I'm not connecting to Thor like I normally would. It's just like, I don't know. That's where it was getting to me. But Last American Girl, what do you think of this from a Taika Waititi perspective and then a Chris Hemsworth perspective?
You're totally right. This was so joke heavy. It didn't give you a break. Like it wasn't even that you were laughing throughout the whole movie. It was just joke after joke after joke. And I feel like adding so many kind of takes away from the rest of the movie. But you can't just be laughing throughout the whole time. That's something that I wasn't too much of a fan for. But some of the jokes were enough to kind of got me through it and got me excited with it, and I did have a good time with it. I don't think it's his best work, but I thought it was still good. But I'm not an expert as far as Taika Waititi goes. As far as Chris Hemsworth, he as I mentioned in the pregame, I like his comedic side. So I like him in Ghostbusters. I like him in Men in Black, and so I thought this was more on par with the character that I like. That he's just running around, messing around, being funny. So it's good on both sides for me.
Did you like the screaming goats though? That's the true
I did
question.
like the screaming goats. I thought they were hilarious.
Oh. Hey, it works. It works for some people.
It worked for me.
That's good. Hey,
Yeah.
no, that's good. That's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Benny, how'd you feel?
I kind of agree with both of you. Taika Waititi, I remember in pregame I said, in Taika Waititi we trust. But I'm like, in Taika Waititi we trust a little less now. because
My
of it,
trust was
because
broken.
the campiness of it just made it just too much. Like if they would just lowered it a bit on the jokes, then I think it would have been better. But overall, I guess decent mid tier for his movies. I wouldn't say it was terrible, but I wouldn't say it was like really good. So on Taika Waititi, that's how I kind of wavered on it. On Hemsworth, I think it kind of was less character development than the previous three Thor movies. So like I said, I think it's just the campiness just kind of killed it. They tried to just up it on the comedy part. And talking about the goats, they were funny the first couple times, but like not throughout the entire movie. Like when you first heard them scream, it's like okay, and when their interaction with the Guardians, I was like okay, but then like as they kept on screaming, I'm like not really okay. That's where I fall on all those three little things. Maybe we can use the screaming ghost as like a new way of a negative thing, like Rotten Tomatoes. So we give things like three screaming goats, and we know it's bad or something like that.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have that part and just like play it every time, just like throughout the video, just like when something comes up, I'm like, scream and go. So Benny,
Yeah.
looks like you're kind of in the middle between us then. And I will say,
Yeah.
I do like humor in my movies. I do like humor in my superhero movies, and there were good jokes in here. My problem was the pattern of repetitive jokes. Like even when you get to that love triangle with Stormbreaker and Mjolnir, right? The hammers and everything like that, like the jealousy
Yep.
thing between the hammers. I'm like, the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, okay, that's kind of funny and clever. I like that. But they kept going back to it. I'm like, okay, now I'm over this love triangle. Like it's been played out too much. So that's why I felt like they kept going with some jokes a little too long for me. That's where I was losing. But there were some good jokes in here. I will say that. I will give credit where it is due there. All right, so this gets us to our fourth question here. Was this a good fourth solo movie for an MCU hero? Because once again, right, this is our first fourth solo movie, and it totally was a solo movie because the Guardians of the Galaxy were in here for like 5 minutes. That was ridiculous. It's like, oh, they had all this set up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm like, that would have been some cool scenes, like seeing more of the missions they went on. If they could have done that a little bit more, I'm like, I kind of want to see that movie. I kind of want to see that story a little bit more. So to me, the Guardians were complete wasted. So this truly was a solo movie here, but I'm like, yeah, no, Marvel should stick to trilogies after this movie. I'm just like, yeah, going into a fourth one, because it does become more difficult to develop a character arc again, right? Like, where can we go next with this character? How can we progress them forward? What's something we can do different? Because what really irritated me in this movie is I felt like all the character progression he had in the other Thor movies, he lost it all. Like I felt like he almost went back to Thor 1, where Thor 1 was more all arrogant and cocky and just like having more good time, right? Like another, right? With the beer, another. Like I felt like that was more of the Thor persona he was giving off rather than like the Thor Ragnarok Thor or the Avengers Endgame Thor, right? Like I just felt like the character progression just reversed completely. And so that's I didn't really like, but I mean, what can they do? Where more can we take the character? So that's why I think kind of a problem getting into so many sequels. And we've seen that with tons of movies before. Like the more you go, the more you run out of steam a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So Last American Girl, what do you think of this as a fourth solo movie? I just don't know.
Okay, so my concern with this, as I mentioned in the pregame, was that the Guardians were going to take up the whole time, but the Guardians weren't even in this, and we've gone over about like how I'm just okay with the Guardians kind of now, and even as someone who isn't the biggest fan of the Guardians at the moment, I missed them. Like I did think that they should have been more in the story, based on what the trailers were showing us. So I thought this is going to go a little different instead of the 5 minutes that they were in. So I was missing, I was lacking on that part. But as far like I said, as far as Ford's solo movie, I think that they're just trying to get us to forget about the Dark World. So they're like, okay, this is his trilogy. He got the Dark World. No one watched that, so we may as well give him a movie that people are gonna go see, so that he's not the lacking one as far as the Avengers go. So I think that's what they were going for. But yeah, trilogies.
Yeah, so more of a trilogy person yourself. So you
Mhm.
wouldn't say they should go more fourth solo movies? Should we get more fourth solo movies of some of the other Avengers?
No, I think we're done. I think 3 is good enough. We don't want to. I don't want the illusions to be broken again.
Yeah. Hey,
So
that's why trilogies have worked so long. It's something about having 3 movies that just works so good. Benny, how do you feel about all this?
I agree with the trilogy part. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. Definitely just keep it at 3. You know, start their character arc, throw it at their peak at number 2, and then just finish it at number 3. That's how they should do it. I get why they made a 4th one because they really didn't finish his arc in Thor Ragnarok. So I get why they made a 4th one. It's just I wasn't a fan of the 4th one. But I do disagree with you guys on the Guardians aspect. I did not mind them just being in it for 5 minutes because how short the movie was and all the focus they were trying to do it with Thor, Mighty Thor, King Valkyrie, all going against Gore. I think if they would have had the Guardians in it longer, it would have been a little too much and would have made it even more fast. Because I didn't really like the pace of the movie in general, but just the 5 minutes, 10 minutes of Guardians was all right. I did feel Star Lord was a little out of character for some reason. That just didn't match up to me. But other than that, stick with trilogies. They don't really need the fourths.
Yeah, the fourth just hasn't seemed to work here. So yeah, trilogies I think is the way to go for it. All right, let's get into our next question here. Our question 5. How did this movie match up with the trailers? So, the trailers looked like they were gonna have some humor in it. And so, I was expecting that. But I don't know. I felt like the trailers were a little bit more balanced, especially with Gore the God Butcher. I felt like we were gonna get, more Gore the God Butcher actually butchering some gods here. Crazy thought. I thought that was gonna happen, but that's why I couldn't wear my God of War hat because not even close to that. But yeah, I'm just like, yeah. So trailers, I guess tonally, I felt like the movie ended up being more comedic than even what the trailers presented me, at least. So you know what, I wasn't too satisfied with how it matched up with the trailer. I felt like, yeah, trailer was a little bit better balanced in my opinion. But Last American Girl, did it match up with the trailers for you perfectly, or?
No, as I was saying, it goes way off trailer. It seemed a bit more serious in the trailers, and it was just full of comedy. I thought we were gonna get more Guardians. We didn't get any Guardians. And all in all, just the plot itself of how it was presented in the trailers was just completely different to what this movie was. So
Benny, how do you feel? Did it match up to your trailers?
No, I agree. The trailers are really misleading. It did have the comedy part of it, but other than that, that was like basically. I thought it was gonna be like I said in pregame. I thought it was gonna be a little bit more darker because of how the trailers were making it seem, but it was a lot less dark than I thought it was gonna be. So no, really misleading on the trailers.
Yeah, and I was hoping so much they were gonna take out that one scene from the trailer that I despised. James. And they
Yeah.
did not. And I'm like, initially first when I saw the trailer, I'm like, oh, this is so bad. So hopefully they take it out. But if they don't, hopefully it makes more sense in context of the movie. No, that wasn't the case either. What was that all about? Why did he make a helmet mask appear for like 2 minutes for no reason? Like I did not, like, he didn't have it on, then magically made it appear just to say Jade. Like what was that? oh my god. So I felt like if they had more of those scenes in the trailer, then it would have matched up with what the actual movie was, because I felt like a lot of movie was that just, oh my. Yeah, the trailer made it seem like it was going to be more balanced, but yeah, just so much comedy in there, so much comedy, just whew. All right, now we get to our question 6 here. How was the cast for this movie? I know we mentioned a few of them already. For Gore the God Butcher, Christian Bale, I thought it was giving it his all. He was trying to give an Oscar level performance. I could tell in his eyes, but what he was given with in terms of the writing and the story, once again, I felt like he was out of place in this movie. Like, I felt like he was in a totally different movie. Like, I wanted to see him butcher some gods here because he's Gore the God Butcherer. We didn't get any of that. What happened with that storyline? Like, Thor butchered just as many gods as God the what? The God Butcherer. Like, what? Like, it only showed him butcher one god, the beginning one. All the other ones, it talked about. It was all off screen. Like, what? Oh my goodness. So his performance was good, but that irritated me about the character. Oh my goodness. Once again, yeah, Chris Hemsworth as Thor, just, kind of middle performance there. Nothing special. I've seen it better from him before. Natalie Portman, I did like. She made the movie better. So Mighty Thor was good, even though some of the logic with the magic powers and how the hammer came together and all that was kind of loosely put together. That, but yeah, I mean, for the other characters, well, we did have other characters in there we can talk about, I guess, right? Because this is spoiler review. We do get, well, I guess it's Thor's daughter now, right? But it was Gore's daughter. And I guess her nickname is Love, right? Hey, that's for the title, Love and Thunder, right? I mean, okay in the movie, I guess, but I don't know. What did you all think of that? Having that scenario with that story, like Thor taking on, being the father figure, and all that. How'd you like how that played out, Last American Girl? Because we haven't talked about
That was cute. I thought that was cute. It kind of gave him a purpose. It ended Jane's storyline because she could just kind of disappeared from the series. So that having that end and giving Thor, I guess, someone to take care of instead of just looking after Loki. that helped, and I think it's cute. But I really don't know where they can go with this afterwards. Because, I mean, do we need to wait for his daughter to grow up, or
she's gonna be part of the new Avengers?
Is she the new Avenger? She's the youngest of the new Avengers. What are her powers exactly? It raises more questions than it answers, but it was cute, and it left me, since that was the final scene, it left me with a nice feeling.
Well, she can have all of Thor's powers because Thor now has a magic ability we've never seen before to give all his powers to whoever he wants. Why he did not do that in any Avengers movie, I have no idea. Oh god, the more I think about this movie, it just makes my blood boil here. Benny, what'd you think of I guess the Love and Thunder scenario?
It reminded me of like some 80s movie, like at the end of an 80s movies when they do that. Like, it was cute. I'll give him that, now he's doing the whole father figure thing of this enemy that, killed some people and took Lady Sif's arm. So it's a nice little farewell, I guess, to the movie. Cute in a way, but it was just different. I do like the fact that the girl that plays Gore's daughter is Chris Hemsworth's actual daughter. So I was like, that was kind of cool how they brought her into that. But yeah, it's just really campy, a little cheesy, I guess you can say. Yeah. I understand the not liking his powers now that he can give his powers away to people. That was a little weird, but it's just, yeah.
Yeah, he's been getting his family into those movies now because he already has his brother in there, right, playing himself in the little sketch play, I guess.
That was a great scene. That was
you liked it?
With Melissa McCartney. Yeah.
I thought it was all right. I just felt like it went on a little bit too long, but yeah, the Melissa McCarthy moment, that was pretty funny. But yeah, they kept going with it too. I kind of want to see what they do for the next show too, because they were already talking about it, right? They're like, oh, they didn't say no, so let's go set up another show right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see that.
Maybe they'll make a Marvel short just for
Yeah,
them.
that'd be like a good little sideline something. I think
Yeah,
they,
drop that on Disney Plus.
as far
little
as
holiday
the
special.
comedy
Yep.
goes, that was good.
Yeah, that was a fun moment. And then
But that would have been enough.
and then we also had a whole bunch of other kid characters, right? We also got, I guess, Heimdall's kid, right? Am I correct on that?
Yep, Heimdall's
he
son.
ended up playing a decent little part in there, right? So that was interesting. I wasn't expecting that at all. Were any of you two expecting Heimdall's kid to show up? I wasn't expecting that at all.
Well, I knew there was a mention of I saw a couple of interviews of Taika Waititi saying that everyone's kid was in this movie. Was I expecting that one specifically? No, but I did like the scenes with the kids. I thought they were, again, also funny.
Yeah, I think because I'm trying to wonder, like, why'd they put so many kids in this movie? I'm like, or is it really to set up like a new Avengers kind of thing? So it's like, oh, we got to replace these old Avengers now. So since we don't have Heimdall anymore, I guess, we'll have his kid basically step up to fill that role now. And then you'll have, I guess, Chris Hemsworth's, I guess, kid now step up to be the new Thor. So okay, I guess maybe that's kind of what they're trying to place down to get some setups there for future movies. Any other? Oh, we have other characters to talk about definitely here. Zeus, right? We got Zeus played by Russell Crowe here. I don't know. I'm kind of torn.
We were
between
so
this
excited
one.
for his performance.
Yeah.
Last time.
Yeah, I'm a mixed bag on this one because I thought it was okay, but nothing outstanding. And I felt like it was just once again played for like comedic moments and like jokey moments. And basically, once again, we're gonna, I guess we'll say that for another question because I have a whole nother question on that. But yeah, I just felt like his moment was so random and out of place. Like this whole movie was jumping from place to place. So it's like, okay, yeah, let's go try to get all the gods' help, right? And they end up getting none of the gods' help. So I'm like, wait, what was the point of this? I guess to get the lightning bolt. But even the lightning bolt, I wasn't like super impressed by. It kind of looked like a cheap prop you could get like at the Halloween store nearby, like Spirit Halloween. Like, hey, you can get one of these. Maybe they're trying to sell the merchandise toys out of it. I don't know, that felt a little cheesy to me, but it was just like, oh, look at this lightning bolt, and he's just putting on like this big show with it and everything like that. But then Thor takes him out, right? And it's like, that's what I'm saying, like Thor killed as many gods as Gore the God Butcherer, because I'm like, oh, okay, so you went to him for help, but then you just took him out. All right, okay. So I wasn't too astounded by that performance either. Benny, did you like that performance at all from Zeus?
No, not really. It was kind of underwhelming, I guess you can say. You expected a lot more from him, and they just really played it all for comedy with him. I thought it was gonna be like Zeus, yeah, but no. I thought maybe what the comedy in the trailer was gonna be basically it, but no, the orgy part that he was talking about and all the other things he mentioned, I was like, okay, it's kind of not safe from Zeus, but like just, it was weird. Yeah.
The name of our group chat.
I was kind of surprised they were able to get away with that in a Disney movie, like in a Disney Marvel movie.
Yeah, same.
Like, because that's
so weird.
Yeah, and it was way different in tone too from a lot of the other parts of the movie. And it's weird. It's like, because this movie, it seemed like, oh, okay, it's kind of more for the family, more for the kids, right? They're putting more kids in here. They're putting in a lot of jokes and humor. But then they have that Zeus part, and it's like, ooh, the clothes are off of Chris Hemsworth. Everybody look at Chris Hemsworth. Ooh, he's been working out and everything. And it's like, oh yeah, talking about the orgy thing and all of that. I'm like, what? What's going on here? This is becoming a different movie than I expected. So I'm like, what? So Last American Girl, I take it you were not a fan of
I
those
wasn't a
scenes or
fan.
Zeus.
It's the same situation with the Eternals, and I think Ben and I have had this conversation several times how unnecessary that one scene in the Eternals was to the story. Like it was already a ridiculously long movie, and then they throw in this scene that has no point. And it's like, what am I watching? I thought I was like in a Disney movie. And just with that part. But as Benny said, the not safe from Zeus.
Yeah.
And they wasted Russell Crowe. I mean, Russell Crowe hasn't been the best in the past couple years, but I think they used him too much in the trailers to get people excited to hopefully see him do a good performance, and then it was just that.
Yeah, that's what it felt like. Oh, let's tell people Russell Crowe's in here. Let's tell people Guardians of the Galaxy is in here. Let's, do all this stuff. And then we just got like little glimpses of everything and just, ooh. I'm trying to think, was there any other cast members here that we haven't talked about yet? Any other performances here?
We got a really, really small 2-second performance from her best friend Darcy.
Oh yeah.
Darcy, yeah.
Yeah, so she was cute in it, but I think we should have gotten her a little longer.
Yeah, I agree. I was
Like
happy
a
to see
side
her show
character.
up, but once again, it was like another like just a glimpse of a character. So
Mhm.
this movie just felt like, okay, we have so many characters now connected to Thor that it's like, okay, we got to jump from these characters to that setting, that environment, and it's just like leapfrogging all over the place. I mean, could you
Mhm.
imagine if they did put Loki in this? Like how
Uh,
even overstuffed
they
this
were
movie would
so
have
horny
been.
with Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh my. So I'm glad they actually, originally I'm like, oh, I want Loki in this movie. But after seeing this movie, I'm like, oh no, I'm glad they did not put Loki in this movie. That would have been way, way too much. I felt like it was already way too much as it is. So, it's just, I'm trying to think. Is there any other cast members here, or performances to take note of? Or I think we covered all of them, huh?
Yeah, I think we did.
Yep, I think we covered all them. But yeah, once again, just like all these performances here, we have a great all-star talent cast. And I thought more of them were gonna have great, great performances, something memorable. But for me, they were mostly all forgettable, besides Christian Bale and Natalie Portman. To me, those are the two standouts. Those are the most enjoyable performances to me. Would you all kind of agree on that?
Mhm.
Oh yeah,
Christian Bale
definitely.
stellar
They carried
job.
it.
Mhm.
Yeah, everything else just forgettable, all forgettable with those characters. So that was unfortunate. But this leads us to our 7th question here. Did this movie meet our expectations? Now, I feel like I wasn't super excited for it, but I was still pretty excited. I'm like, oh, it's a Thor movie. We got Taika Waititi involved. Thor Ragnarok is a top 5 MCU movie of all time. So I'm ready for this. And wow, was I so upset and saddened by this movie because I wasn't expecting it to be Thor Ragnarok level because that's tough. Like, how can you get to that level? It's
Mhm.
possible, it can be done, right? But I'm like, I'm not gonna put it to that high of a standard. Just give me like mid tier. Give me like a Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like to me, that was mid tier. So I'm happy with it. It's still enjoyable, still entertaining. I still walk out with a smile. No, wasn't that for me. I was so disappointed. For me anyway, that's just me. It was bottom tier MCU. And we haven't gotten a bottom tier MCU movie in a long time. Like even Black Widow, like it's nothing outstanding, but I'm like,
That's good.
standard Marvel, mid tier, it's enjoyable enough. It's like standard. It didn't piss me off. This movie pissed me off because I knew it could do better than this with the talent that was involved. And it isn't their first rodeo as a Thor movie, right? This is Thor.
Or
Like you should have your stuff down by now to at least give us good. Maybe not great, but good. To me, I was so even though I think it's better than Thor the Dark World, it's not better by much for me, unfortunately. But yeah, because I'm thinking about it. When I think about these movies and I compare them together, I'm like, okay, if I'm looking at other movies, what other movies would I rather see? You know, that are MCU movies. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be wanting to watch a lot more of the other MCU movies over this one. You know, that's just me. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be more towards if I have to marathon them all again for an Avengers movie, this is kind of one I'm like, no, I'll get to it, but I'm not too excited about it. Last American Girl, how did this meet your expectations? Were you satisfied with this movie?
Okay, so with this, I went in with, I said, zero expectations, going in flat with this. I wasn't excited for the gore, but I was excited for the comedy. And I think it flipped. Once again, my prediction is completely the opposite of how it goes. There was no gore, so I was excited about that. And I was very satisfied with that part. I know. But and the comedy that I was excited for, it was too much. So that kind of switched off a little bit for me. I wouldn't, you're right, I wouldn't rewatch this. I wouldn't go back and see it. But if, like, I guess if it's hot and there's nothing better to do, I'll be down, and it's short enough. It has its moments, and like I mentioned earlier, there's probably a lot of Easter eggs in there that we didn't catch that I'd like to go back and notice and see. And
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go back and watch this one multiple times in my life because it's an MCU movie. I already know I'm gonna have to, but that's
Mhm.
what just gets me more because I'm like, every time I watch it again, I'm just gonna, you know, I don't know if it'll get better for me. Maybe it will because now I know what to expect out of it. So hopefully it improves over time. Hopefully it doesn't, decline even more. But yeah, you mentioning Gore the God Butcher again, right? We didn't get any Gore at all. Like, I was so disappointed by that. I have to mention that again because I'm like, you're promising Gore the God Butcherer. You know, you got to show us him taking on some kind of gods here. I mean, just one, and then everything else is off screen. Like, oh, it's talks, like rumors about it. Like, give me at least a few. I mean, you don't have to be like every 5 minutes, showing him taking out a god. Doesn't have to be that the whole movie. But I was expecting more than one, like more than one. Like, give me a few at least. It was like, and I feel like it could have been so cool how they did some scenes, like when Thor, goes to meet all the gods and all that Zeus thing, instead of it being a laughable moment, what if Gore the God Butcherer showed up right then and there, started taking people out? Like, how cool would that have been? Because then you'd be like, oh my goodness, this is a massive threat here. And I thought that would have been such a cool thing, but it was a missed opportunity. It was just like, okay, so we're supposed to believe Gore the God Butcherer is all this terrible monster bad guy, but it was more like they were telling us and not showing us it. Didn't show us enough. And to me, you're in a movie, show us it. Don't just tell us it. So yeah, I just had to mention that was another little disappointing part for me. But hopefully we'll get something like that in the God of War series in the future because I'm a big fan of that franchise for those moments in it that are so cool. And that's where we'll get the gore. But Benny, did this meet your expectations?
No, no, I'll be honest. I went in with high expectations, if you guys remember from the pregame that we did, and it did not meet at all. Like, I read the comics, so I was expecting a lot more gore, and I was excited. I told my brother to read the comic. I told my friends to read the comics. I was like, "Yeah, guys, the movie's coming out. It's gonna be great." And it kind of disappointed me. I thought
Aw.
I was expecting Gore to attack during that scene with Zeus and all that. I thought maybe he was gonna kill Zeus, and that's how they're gonna get the lightning bolt. So I was like, okay, cool, that'd be kind of good, but that didn't happen. So expectation wise, it did not meet my expectations. So I was way up here, and then it just kind of went down here to me. It was it was. I'm not gonna say it was bad. I'm still gonna rewatch the movie, but I'm not gonna rewatch it in theaters. I'll wait till like it hit Disney Plus, and not even like the first day it comes out. I'll just wait till later on to rewatch it because there was Easter eggs in it, and I caught a lot of them, but I'm pretty sure I didn't catch them all. So maybe that's why I'll rewatch it for the Easter eggs, but like not for the story. basically.
Yeah, this felt like a streaming movie. I didn't feel like, oh, did I need to go opening night for this one? To me, it wasn't an opening night movie. I'm like, yeah, it's a streaming movie or a holiday special kind of movie. And so, yeah, and like you said, like there were so many moments there that could have been set up for greatness, right? Like they had that whole Zeus scene with all the gods, and that would have been such a perfect moment to make it very dramatic and intense and action packed, but they made it all comedic. And I felt like there were so many moments throughout the movie where it's like, oh, we can get really intense here. We can see more of Gore here. And it was just like, oh, let's make it a comedic moment again. Like even with what was her name? Like Lady Shiv, right? Or is that how you pronounce it? Like
Lady
Thor's
Sif,
friend?
yeah.
Yes. Like they made that moment all a joke. Like it's like, oh, maybe your arm's in Valhalla. Like, like and that could have been a powerful moment. Like, what if
Hmm.
she did pass away there? Like that would have been a heart-wrenching moment. Or at least make it more dramatic, even if she does live. But it was all just like, oh yeah, maybe the arms in Valhalla. It's all laughing about like all these moments that to me I felt like we should have had more seriousness to them. Like it just felt like, oh, let's put a funny spin on it, right? Let's make this more. I don't know if they're trying to make it more like family friendly of a movie, more
But
for
it
kids,
wasn't.
but yeah,
It
but there were
wasn't
some
really.
weird, yeah, but there were some weird things in there too that were
Yeah.
definitely not family or for the kids. So that's why I'm like, it's so weird. Like they had things set up where it's like, okay, we can make these moments serious here. And you can still have the comedy kind of plugged in throughout, like, oh, we got these really tense moments, and then we go into a comedy joke to kind of give us the levity, let us breathe a little bit, but then we're right back in the intense story of Gore the God Butcher.
Mhm.
That's what I was hoping for, but it was just like, everything, let's try to put a silly spin on everything. And it was just like, oh, it took away something for me from the Thor character. So yeah, it did not meet my expectation. And I'm pretty easy on superhero movies. So I was surprised when I did my reaction out of the theater, I gave it a thumbs down. I was just and I think I gave Morbius a thumbs up. So I'm pretty easy on superhero movies. Like but this one I'm just like I didn't walk out with a smile. That's why. When I don't walk out with a smile, I have to give it a thumbs down for me. And I was just like, a lot of missed opportunities there, but there was good elements in there. It just needed to be put together differently for me. So yeah, didn't meet my expectations. Unfortunately, Benny didn't meet your expectations, right? And
Nope.
then Last American Girl felt like it kind of flip flopped on you a little bit, right? Like some things were met, but then some things weren't met. Okay, so yeah, just all right. So let's get into question 8 here. Let's talk about these post-credit scenes because I heard some people really like these post-credit scenes, but I did not. I did not at all because here's the issue. Well, we got 2 post-credit scenes. So first, and they both kind of have the same issue for me. So the first one, we find out Zeus is alive, right? So Zeus isn't dead. That's an issue to me because I'm like, once again, we're back to the Marvel fake death universe. Nothing has consequences anymore. Nobody dies, right? Zeus didn't die. Korg didn't die. Gore's daughter didn't die. She came back to life. Like everybody just comes back to life. It's like, Mario, you get more lives. Like, I'm like, what? There, it loses the tenseful moment, like in past movies, like when superheroes would die, like you would feel it, right? Like Iron Man and Endgame and Black Widow and all that. Like those were very like intense, serious moments. But
Mm.
now I feel like whenever a character dies, I'm just like, oh, I don't care anymore. They're gonna be back. Like, they're not dead. So to me, that's why I did not like that part initially. Now the Hercules thing, I know Benny, you're going to talk a lot about Hercules right here.
I
I
called
don't
it.
know too
Yep.
much about Hercules, but Hercules I thought was a cool character, but it's basically setting up, I guess, for a fifth Thor movie. I guess that's what they're trying to go with, which I'm not too excited about that either. I think we need to get away from the solo Thor movies, but Hercules looked cool. I mean, the actor, apparently he's from Ted Lasso, right? I mean, he looked jacked up for Hercules, so he looked like he was ready to go toe to toe with Chris Hemsworth. So I think that can be a cool fight. I just don't know if I want a whole movie on it personally. So I don't know how that's gonna work out. But Last American Girl, what do you think of that first post-credit scene?
You guys called it. That was cool. With Hercules. So I didn't get too much of his character, and I mean, I'm hoping that once again this ties back into the Eternals. I'm just waiting for Harry Styles here. I want him to fight Harry Styles. And the like you said, the consequences, how there isn't any anymore, like deaths aren't dramatic. That's so true, so true. And Zeus being alive and wasting a post credit on letting us know that the whole like weird side plot of the movie was for nothing. It was just it didn't feel right. But I did like the final end credit with Jane and how she reaches how she died in battle, and so she gets to go to what's it called? How do you pronounce that?
Valhalla.
Valhalla. How she gets to go to Valhalla, and I thought that was sweet and nice, and I did leave with a smile, probably because of that.
Yeah, I like that second post-credit scene maybe a little bit more because yeah, we did get to see, I guess Lady Thor, Mighty Thor, Natalie
Mighty.
Portman, however you want to say it.
Dr.
Yes,
Jane
Dr. Jane Foster. So it was cool to kind of see her back in a certain way and that Valhalla idea. It was cool to see Heimdall again, but once again, my same issue with it. It's like everybody gets to come back. Everybody, right? Like Loki came back like 3 times already. Everybody gets to come back. So even though it was kind of a nice moment, kind of cool, but just once again, the fake death stuff is starting to get to me. Benny, what do you think of these 2 post-credit scenes?
I actually enjoyed both of them. I'm not gonna lie. The first one because, like I said, I called it, so I was all excited right when the Zeus Thunderbolt through the chest thing happened. I told my brother, I was like, "Hey, I bet you that Hercules gonna be in post credit." And when he was there, I was like, "Yeah." But I didn't like the Zeus not dying part. I thought he should have died, and Hercules would have been like, "Oh, look, my dead father. I'm gonna go get revenge on Thor now," type of deal. I thought that's how they should have done it. But it was still fine. The actor looked like he got big, so he might be able to fight with Thor. I don't think they should have um added into like a Thor 5 movie because we already said number 4 wasn't that great. So I don't think they should do a whole solo movie with that. And with the other post credit with the Jane Foster going to Valhalla, I thought that was nice. I doubt they're gonna do anything with it, so it was a good way to just finish her character off, showing that she died in battle, so she gets to be up there with the gods now and be worshipped and all that. So that's the reasons I like them.
Yeah, and I hope you're right on that with the Valhalla. I hope they don't do too much more with it because I get this worried feeling that now we're gonna have a movie. We go to Valhalla. Hey, we got Iron Man there. Let's jump on the ship with the screaming goats, go through a multiverse time portal with Loki or something, and now we're back. Iron Man, Captain America, everybody that died. It's a big party again. I'm so worried that it's going to go that direction. So if it goes that direction, oh my goodness, I'm going to be off this MCU train. But hopefully it doesn't go that way because I'm just like, oh, that'd be too much. But
that would be too much. Yeah.
I feel like they had that scene for some bigger purpose. That's why I get worried. I'm like, I feel like there's a bigger purpose to Valhalla. I feel like I'm not going to like what the bigger purpose is. I'm just worried. I'm worried now, everybody. I'm scared. I'm scared here. And then, oh, Benny, I loved how you mentioned that idea with Hercules and Zeus actually dying, and then Hercules basically going after it as a revenge tale. That would have been awesome. They should hire you to write the next Thor movie because that would have been way better. That would have been cool. It would have been like a Punisher story, but with Hercules. Get him throwing down with Thor. Like that would have been so cool.
Yep.
But instead of doing the dramatic, emotional, powerful scene, they went comedic with it. Oh, like so many missed opportunities here. Or even if they made this movie all just like God focused with multiple God characters. Like you had Thor fight up against Hercules and, you know, in that Zeus ring or something like that. And you get an awesome battle between them. But then like Gore comes in and kills Hercules for a dramatic effect. Like, oh, Gore just killed Hercules. We don't want to mess with this guy. So you get the best of both worlds with all their characters. That would have been so cool. Why? Why didn't they do this? Ugh. Yeah, Benny, you definitely need to write the next one. All right.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, so let's get to question 9 here. Question 9. What do we think of the critic score and the audience score? So for the critic score, when I last checked on Rotten Tomatoes, I saw it at 68%. An audience score, I saw at 81%. So to me, that's kind of a lower critic score for a Marvel movie. Usually Marvel movies have a higher score than 68%. So to me, that's kind of low for critics, but I can tell why. They probably didn't like the humor and all that. And it didn't, you know, stick as hard as, you know, some of the other movies like Thor Ragnarok, I felt they probably would have been more happy with, right? Audience score is better, but that's natural for the audience to be a little bit easier on it. But still, like 80%, low 80%. Usually for MCU movies, people are like 90% on this. Like, oh, it's like a big epic movie. We're so pumped. Like Spider-Man No Way Home, like, oh, you know, it didn't feel that way to me. So I'm not surprised by these scores at all. Personally, that feels about right for me, but just disappointing for the movie for that. Last American Girl, you surprised by those scores at all?
No, I think it's about right. It did have a lot of for lack of a better word, cringy moments in it, and I think that's kind of what brought it down so much. It wasn't the best movie, but it wasn't too bad either. So I'm glad it's a little bit on the. I think those scores are a little high on my end. So.
What do you think, Benny? You think these scores line up?
I think they line up. Critic wise, is what you say, 64%, right?
68%.
68%. Okay. Well, maybe 64 would have been a better shot at it, but mid 60s would have been a fine critic review. So I think they did all right. With the audience one, the 80s, that seemed a little higher than I expected after watching the movie. But like you said, it is low for a Marvel movie. Usually they come out with like low 90s or something like that. But so I guess it fits in my opinion, fits where it is.
Yeah, definitely lines up for me. So let's get to our last question here. Question 10. How did we do at the box office for this movie? So let me double check here. This is the last number I looked up. It was about 140 million, give or take a few million in there. So to me, that's still a good box office. I mean, you know, tons of movies would love to have that kind of MCU box office, but also it's nothing outstanding for an MCU movie. I thought it was going to do a little bit better. I thought it was going to be like 160 million around there, maybe pushing up to 170. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to get, you know, past like 200 or anything, you know, like Spider-Man level or Avenger level. I didn't think it was going to go there. But 140 seems a little bit lower than I was expecting. I was hoping maybe, you know, 10 or 20 million above that. So I'm just, it's kind of odd why maybe not a lot of people went out this weekend for it, because there was no competition with it. So I don't know that. I thought it was going to be a little bit higher. Last American Girl, what do you think of those box office numbers?
Yeah, it is a little low for what we had anticipated, but also maybe there's no competition, but maybe people are going on vacation during this point at this time, or I'm not sure. It is a little suspicious of a number.
Yeah. Benny, what do you think of the number?
I agree. I thought it was going to be like around 160-ish, but like 140 is kind of low for, well, obviously it's good for a movie in general, like you said. But for a Marvel movie, I expected a little bit higher. No, it's no Spider-Man, so I didn't expect that much higher, but I did expect around 160s rather than the 140 it did get. But I guess it still has a little bit of time, you know, it could pick up. We'll see.
Yeah, because I think Doctor Strange came in higher than this one. I think Doctor Strange was at least over 150, if I'm remembering correctly, anywhere from 150 to 160. And that one was more marketed as kind of a darker story, right? More horror elements. But people ended up being kind of disappointed by that one as well. So I'm wondering now with these numbers, if we're seeing a decrease here in these MCU numbers, are people getting off the MCU train now? Are people starting to feel like, they call it, oh, the superhero fatigue or Marvel fatigue? Like, are people starting to feel that? So I started to think about this question myself, and I'm like, I'm kind of feeling it, you guys. And I don't want to say that because superheroes, that's my genre. You know how much superhero merchandise I got? Like, come on now. Like, I love superhero movies, are my favorite. But something about these MCU movies, I feel like it's losing it for me. And I think, and I want to hear your guys' perspectives on this too. Maybe why people are starting to feel this fatigue. For me, I think for phase 4, it's, we don't have any one single vision of where we're going with phase 4. To me, it felt like all these kind of side stories, like spin-offs, like, oh, let this director do whatever, let that director do whatever, but it doesn't feel like, okay, all these movies are leading together towards an Avengers movie, right? Like, we're not even getting an Avengers movie for phase 4. Like, what is with that? I don't understand that. So to me, it just feels like, oh, everything's just going in so many directions. And to me, the strength of the MCU movies were all going together, we're leading up to this big epic adventure kind of event. So that's where I think I'm feeling it. This phase 4 has kind of let me down. Last American Girl, what do you think about all of that? Are you understanding the fatigue out there? Are you feeling it yourself? Or are you still like hyped up every Marvel movie? Let's go.
I get hyped for Marvel movies. I just like movies in general as well. But they it's just, it's messy, and I don't see how they're tying it in. I'm hoping it's gonna be like a Stranger Things situation where it doesn't make any sense, but then they tie it in at the end. So at least, I have hopes, but at the same time, I'm just trying to enjoy every individual movie as it comes.
And so, Benny, how do you feel about all this?
I understand the fatigue part because that's what I liked about the Marvel movies, the connectivity between the movies. Like, you get a hint at this by this movie, and then this movie would hint at this even more, and then it all come together. But this whole phase 4, I've had this conversation before with multiple people. It all just seems like a bunch of solo movies. They're all doing their own thing and barely hinting at what's going to happen. Like, no one's connected to the Eternals besides a Celestial here and there in a movie. Black Widow was its own thing. Shang-Chi, it was basically its own thing. All these Disney Plus shows, I still watch them all. Don't get me wrong, I like them. But the lack of connectivity, that's kind of making me go a little down more with my excitement. I'm still going to watch the Marvel movies because that's my thing too. It's kind of getting more DC universe where all the movies are all their own type of thing, and just lack of connectivity, just throwing my game off with it.
All right. Yeah, hopefully it ends up being better the next time around. You know, we got to keep the hope alive here. So hopefully we step up our game, Marvel, for the next time. And so, yes, this was a great post-game show here, everybody. Thank you so much again, Benny and Last American Girl, for joining us on this post-game journey. This was a lot of fun, even though I totally just ranted on this movie. It was still a good time. I still love discussing movies, so this was excellent. So if you all are just discovering the channel out there, make sure you subscribe right now. We're going to get you tons of pre-game and post-game shows for all the big blockbusters. Of course, you know, all the superhero movies will definitely take care of that. And of course, for all the other amazing content I post daily on my channel, tons of different topic and ranking and reviews and unboxings. You want to sub up for that, make sure you all like this video out there, throw up those likes. And this is Mega Mike the Movie Man, reminding you to make every day a movie day. And leave in the comments below, what did you all think of Thor, Love and Thunder? Were you a little disappointed like me, or did you have a blast with it? Let's have those discussions down below.